Mastering photorealism is one thing that will get you from beginner to pro in no time. This is by far the best skill that you can learn as a beginner 3D artist. This is how you will learn to showcase your work. This is how you score clients. This is how you score your new job. This is basically how you will get an actual career as a 3D artist. This is when things get serious. This is when you build your portfolio, and this is how you make huge progress. And in this video I will show you how to achieve next level photorealism. Okay, so before the first step, I will just show you my scene, how it looks like in the background. For the background I used this forest asset and I placed it behind our playhouse, so you can see where the playhouse is, and playhouse is right behind our teddy bear in the airplane and our robot. And you can tell that I have this grass and dandelions scattered all around. This is where the camera is, and this is this ring toy. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I played a bit with the settings here. You can see for the particle system of the forest, I kind of reduced the amount of trees in the background. And I also changed the color of the airplane from blue to red. And I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and I also played a little bit with the geometry node settings. So you can screenshot this and you can use the same values if you want. For our first step, we are going to add some depth to our image, which is probably one of the most important things if you want to achieve photorealism. And we are going to have our teddy bear in focus, and everything else will be kind of blurred out. So to do that, you can just shift right click to Teddy's head, and you can see the 3D cursor is now placed there. You can do this kind of on his forehead like this. Now you need to hit Shift A and add empty object, plane axis. We will use this empty object for a focus point for our camera. So now you need to go into camera settings by clicking on this icon here, and you need to check this depth of field option to enable it. And now you can see that we are actually using distance for the focal length, for the focus point. And adjusting that is kind of tedious. You can see that we still don't have what we want in focus, so that's why we created this empty object. And we are now going to find that empty object. It's right here. Go back to the camera settings, click this tool and choose this empty object. So now we basically ensured that our teddy bear is in focus. And that's pretty much it for the first step. You can also copy my settings of the camera. I used 19mm focal length with the f-stop 1.1 to kind of create that really narrow depth of field. So you can tell that foreground elements are really blurred out. Also these dandelions, and background is really blurred out. But that's what we wanted, because this grass is not the highest quality grass. It doesn't look very realistic. So we wanted to hide elements and to get some cinematic kind of look. And that's exactly what we did. So let's move to the next step. Okay, so for our next step, we are going to play a bit with the lighting. I already have HDRI that I linked in the description, and I just increased the strength of the HDRI from 1 to 502, and I changed the rotation on Z axis to -20 to -220 degrees. So if you want, you can use those exact settings. Okay, I will start by adding one spotlight. I'll hit Shift A, go to light, and add spotlight. Now I will move it a little bit on the y-axis, and I will go into constraints, add object constraint, and choose this option, track 2. So what we are going to do is we are basically going to tell this light that no matter where we position it, it needs to be directed into our empty. So let's go here, pick this tool, and choose this empty. And now I can tell that the light is now pointed at our teddy bear, at its forehead. Okay, so, and also if you move it around, you will see that it always keeps being pointed in that direction. So that will be a huge help for us, because we don't need to do some heavy lifting with light positioning this way. Okay, I will go into properties of this light, and I will increase power to, let's say, 300 watts. See what we get. As you can tell, we got some highlights right here and here. Maybe I will go and bump it up to 500. Let's see. Okay, that gave us even more highlights. That's exactly what we want. I will try and position it the way I like it. So maybe something like this. I kind of want this light to be on the teddy bear, but also on the airplane. So yeah, you can play around with the position of the lighting, maybe something like this. Okay, I'll even bump it up to 700, let's see. Okay, I think this looks pretty good. But what I'm going to do now is add some texture to the light, because I want to kind of simulate that light beams are passing through some leaves. And I don't want to add an additional tree here. I don't want this to be too heavy on my PC, basically. Okay, so with the light selected, I'm going to click here, use nodes. And now we can adjust material for our light. I'll go and add new node to this color. And that node is going to be noise texture. Hit enter. Now with the Shift A, I'm going to add color ramp and place it right here. I will also go and add geometry node with the incoming value to our noise texture. And now you will be able to see when we play with these values that we have different sort of lighting on our bear. You will be able to see it right here, but I will increase lighting even more, power, so you will be able to see that. Now I'm also going to move this slider in color amp. Now you can see that we have these black shadows basically more visible. I'll also go and move this white slider more to the middle. And now you can really see the effects. And this is exactly the effects that I wanted, because I want this to look basically like light is passing through a bush or tree or something like that. And you can see if we move our light around, the effect changes. I also increase roughness here to the maximum value of 1. And that will basically allow us to have more defined shape of the shadow. But I don't really want this to be that sharp, that harsh of a light. So I'm going here to increase radius for just a tiny bit, and you will be able to see on the left side how this basically blurs out a bit, blurs these shadows out a bit. And this is probably something that I want, like this. And you can tell how many more details we now have in our image without actually adding 3D object that's based on mesh. This is pretty light for any PC. And I'll just play a little bit with these lights, see what we can get. I think that this might work. But we can add another one by having this light selected and just hitting Shift D. And we will also have the spotlight with exactly the same texture that we created here. So it will have the same effect. Maybe we can place this somewhere behind the bear. So once we render the image, it will hit these hairs on the bear from the back, and it will create some cool effect. Okay, you can add as many lights as you want. It doesn't need to be realistic, it needs to look good. So it doesn't need to represent the sun in the real life, because you kind of need more light sources in 3D to make things look right. Okay, so I'm happy how this looks so far. Maybe I will adjust it a little bit later, but I think that now we can do last thing in our step number 2, and that means adding a little bit of mist or fog. So I'll go and hit Shift A. Sorry, I will select this scene. So I will select this collection because I want my cube to be placed here. So hit Shift A, go to Mesh and choose Cube. And now Cube is really getting in our way. I can't see what is going on behind the cube. So I will go here in Object Properties, scroll all the way down, and for Display As, I will choose Wire. Now you can tell that it's just wired. It doesn't have any texture to it, or it doesn't look like a solid object. Okay, I will scale it up like this. Okay. Now I'll hit Control A and apply scale. Now here in Node Editor, I will make new material for that cube. I will delete this principled material, Shift A, and search for volume scatter. And connect output of the volume scatter node to material output volume. And now we have a mist, but I'll go and adjust this value way down so it doesn't look like this, because now we can't see anything. So let's go and try with 0, 0, 5. Now I basically don't see it. Like let's try like this with 0, 0, 5. This might be too harsh, but let's see if we adjust our lighting. Maybe it will look a little bit better. Because it's important to know that if you add this kind of mist, and if you're lucky, you will probably be able to see the rays in the mist. But for that, we probably need denser mist. And I am not going to be so brave and make it denser. So let's see what we can do with our lights. And it was all about lighting. We added a few light sources, added textures, them to create gobos. So you don't need to spend money on gobos. You can make it right here unless you need something specific. And yeah, let's move forward to the last step. Okay, so our last step is going to be all about post-processing. So I will go and add a new window here and choose compositor. And I will hit N to hide this menu here and check this use nodes. Also make sure that you are in rendered view and that you have this compositor option set on always. So you will be able to see in viewport in real time what are you doing in the compositor. Okay, so I'll go ahead and add our first node, which is lens distortion. I place it right here to connect with the rest of the nodes. I will check this option fit, and I will add a little bit of dispersion. Just a tiny bit, like 0.02 or 3. Let's be brave, let's add 3. And with this selected, we will get that chromatic aberration effect that really adds on realism. Next, I will add a little bit of glare. So Shift A and search for glare and add it right here. And now we have it selected to streaks, but I want actually fog glow. And I want quality instead of medium to be high. And for this mix, I'll set it on -0.5, around 5. This means that once rendered and composited, this effect will be applied only halfway there, and the rest of that will be our raw image without the glare. And one more thing that's important about the glare is that what you see here as a glare is not something that you will get as a final effect. You will get less of a glare, much less. So if you want it to be at this level, you need to set this mix to either value of 0 or something like -0.2. But I'll keep it at -0.54 for this purpose. I think this is looking pretty nice already, and I'll just go ahead and add some vignettes here. I mean all the way around. because I want the viewer to be focused on this teddy bear. And the way to do that is to first add node which is alpha over. Add it right here. And we'll place this glare now here. Now the next thing that we need to do, we need to add with Shift A box mask. We'll add it right here. And if you check what it does, you need to connect it to alpha over factor like this. And now we have a box. What we need to do now is to adjust these values, which is width and height, like this. Okay. And also height, like this. And I will now go and choose black color here. So our frames are now black. For the last step, we need to go with Shift A and add some blur, like this, and place it right between box and alpha over. Once we blur it in the x-axis, you can see the effect. It really blurs out this box mask for nice vignette. And I also blur it on the y-axis, something like this. And if we uncheck this, you can see before and after. Before and after. Now you can also play with lighting a little bit again, but this is pretty much it. This was the third step. I'll place this here so you can copy my settings if you like. And now it's about time to hit render and see what we got. I think that this final render definitely serves as a proof that in 20 minutes you can get from something that's pretty mediocre to something that's awesome, portfolio worthy. I mean, just look at the difference. And I also rendered one additional angle. I mean, I think we did a pretty good job here, guys. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing. Thanks.